right, it's time for Midweek Politics, mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sahid Fuha. This is the show where we look at the major developments in the political space. It's strictly politics. And today we will be looking at two major issues, one out of the shores of the country, and then, of course, one with a special focus on Rivers State. Darling friend, the former governor of Rivers State, and who is the current minister of the FCT, had a media chat yesterday, and of course, as expected, had quite a lot to say. Very interesting comments and statements from the former governor of Rivers State, who is the current minister of the FCT, Yᴏ Mszáɪᴘᴜ. We're going to look at that. Really, he said a whole lot of things. Some of them with what I think will be strong implications for the political space, both in Rivers State and, of course, out of Rivers State. So it's going to be one of the conversations we're going to have on the show today. But before we look at Rivers State, some Rivers elders and what Yᴏ Mszáɪᴘᴜ had to say at that media chat, we are going to go to Senegal. It's important that we talk about Senegal. Senegal has done what a lot of political pundits would have said is impossible, to get a 44-year-old to become the first elected president of Africa, in Africa. Again, we understand that, look, Africa and democracy, it's not been too good a story, but again, Senegal seems to have been able to give us that glimmer of hope that indeed Africans can actually practice democracy and make it work. So we're going to look at the newly elected president of Senegal, that's Mr. Bassirou Diomaye Faye. It's French. I'm sure this Bassirou will be the normal Bashiru, the one we call Bashiru here in Nigeria. But his name is Bassirou Diomaye Faye. He's 44-year-old, and he was sworn in as the fifth president of Senegal on Tuesday. That was yesterday, and of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was at that event, and so many other African leaders. One would have thought that maybe something would have resonated in their minds about the need to quit the stage when the ovation is loud. But Tᴏɪᴛᴛᴇʀ is unavoidably absent on the show today, so I'll be running the show alone. But Barrister Tᴏɪᴛᴛ Sadiqba, of course, has agreed to join me via the phone lines, for us to have this conversation this afternoon. Midweek Politics, mainland 98.3 FM. Barrister Tᴏɪᴛᴛ Sadiqba is already on the line with me. Good afternoon, Barrister.
Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the show this afternoon at a very short notice.
Thanks for having me. I hope you went to travel to Senegal to see the man.
No, we were monitoring the whole event right from Lagos here. Technology made it. But we sent Sandra there. Sandra was at that event, and she gave us live feeds. And and this morning she actually now told me her dream to become the first lady of Senegal.
Well, that would be interesting. At least we have a neighbor who is the president of the country in Africa.
I told her, I said that's a very big one, But Mr. Curtis, is he married? The young man.
Is he what?
Is he married? The young man. That's
he has two wives.
He has two wives. So okay, because again, I've not really gotten that part of him. So Sandra becomes the third.
He married after in 2023, some few months ago.
Okay.
Maria was actually his first wife, and they somehow related to him. They have 4 children together. Yes. So you have 2 first ladies.
Okay, so it won't be bad if he has the third. I guess he's a Muslim.
Super one.
Okay, maybe I'll give him sage. It's a big gift for.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's on the lighter note. But he's regarded as a left-wing pan-Africanist. Barrister Tᴏɪᴛᴛ Sadiqba. That's the way he's been described, as a left-wing pan-Africanist. That's Bassirou Diomaye Faye. 44-year-old. He took the presidential oath in front of hundreds of officials and several African heads of state at an exhibition center in the new town of Diomandioù near Dakar, Senegal. Of course, he's made an announcement to make his what could call his mentor, somebody who can call his mentor, that's Prime Minister Mr. Sonko. He has announced him as the Prime Minister, and but again, what we want to look at here is this: he's 44-year-old. Of course, we have all of his profile. You know, he has all of this radical thinking, firebrand, and all of that. But what are your expectations really of this young man, and what do you think his election, what would be the implications of his elections on democracy? Let's start from West Africa. What do you think this is a message? This will send a message to other leaders in West Africa?
Well, first of all, let me say that we should leave characterization, or whether it's leftist or rightist, and give him the opportunity. As you understand, in Africa, we have had leaders who are identified as leftist, radical, Marxist, and as soon as they took over power, they changed their orientation. It's so easy to describe one as these things when you have not tasted power. And so now that they have tasted power, we will see how he moves on by the policies he implements in Senegal. Now, having said that, it's not exactly new that we have not had young leaders in Africa. Okay? You could argue that yes, Yᴏ괜ᴛᴜ was not an elected president.
Yes.
He was in his 30s when he became the head of state.
I think 37 or so. Yeah, 35 or 37. Yeah, 37.
So,
yes.
People like Thomas Sankara were also quite young. Even this Senegal that we're talking about, there was a military head of state in Senegal, Gambia, and all those, Valentine Tressa and all of that were quite young people. People forget about the democratic toga, because sometimes in Africa, you don't even know the difference between democracy and military government. So I think it's about what he's able to do for the Senegalese people. More importantly, the circumstances under which he emerged is critical, and it should be guiding what he does going forward. You will recall that he was the Secretary General of FASTEC, the party of Ousmane Sanko.
Sanko, yes.
Yes, Ousmane Sanko, of course, was the presidential candidate of his party, the FASTEC, until President Macky Sall, who didn't want to leave power at all costs, having postponed the elections, tried to run for third term. This was the man who benefited from the unanimity of the opposition in Senegal, who fought former President Abdoulaye Wade to stand still for Macky Sall to emerge. But the same Macky Sall wanted to extend his tenure and then continue to be life president. So the opposition came together, and that opposition was led by Ousmane Sanko, who was framed up, in my own opinion, accused of raping some young girls in a salon, and therefore was disqualified. As a result of that, his party adopted Faye to be their presidential candidate, even though he was also in jail himself. But he was released on the 15th of March. And what actually helped him was because the son of the former president, Abdul Wade, his son, who was the leader of, I think their party is called the PDS or something, was disqualified from running by Macky Sall.
Yeah.
So, as a result of that, the PDS also endorsed Faye. So he became the candidate of the opposition.
Like a consensus candidate, like a consensus candidate of the opposition. Yeah.
Of the opposition. It was like what happened in Nigeria in 2015, when some political parties realized that except they come together and form a strong border opposition,
they can't defeat the PDP. And so that was exactly what happened in Senegal. Now,
I saw the tweet by Omoyele this morning when he was reminding the young people of Nigeria
that they just want to become PAs and SAs. They don't want
and SAs and hang that around when they could change the system and lead the system by themselves. And I hope that they learn a few things from there, you know. Other Africans, the countries we call millions, we call ourselves the giants of Africa. They are showing us the way. They are leading democratically, you know. So I think when you look at it from that point of view, you will see that what happened in Senegal is very significant.
Okay, well, you said that, look, we should leave this idea of tagging him, whether a left wing or a right wing Pan-Africanist and all of that. It should be about what he's able to deliver to the people of Senegal. Now, I think the challenges are quite obvious. Because again, he has said that as part of his plans, he will be working to lower the cost of living and also fight corruption. And then, of course, he's talking about national reconciliation. He feels that, look, the toxic in the last 3 years, you know, the political atmosphere in Senegal has been very toxic and has divided the country along ethnic, religious, and all manner of issues. But he's saying that, look, one of the first things he will concentrate on would be to lower the cost of living, fight corruption, and then, of course, ensure the country is united so that, of course, they can move on as one indivisible entity. The challenges are there, really, because unemployment in Senegal today, the official figure is put at about 20%. And then, of course, you have serious poverty level, high poverty level, and there are high expectations too. I think that's also going to be a problem for him, because I think some of his supporters will think that, look, he gets into power and they begin to see immediate results from his government. Do you think that if you put his plans against what the challenges are for him now, we should see some results coming from this young man? He's 44-year-old. Do you think he will be able to pull some strings to surmount these challenges?
But because he's not too young to be president, maybe because we're looking at it within the context of the African political ecosystem. But even if you look at it critically, how old was Lɪ佤ᴜᴜ when he became the president of Senegal? How old was Kenneth Kaunda when he became the president of Zambia? These were young people, okay? But having said that, I think that he is in a unique place because of the promises that he has made and because of the extant conditions in Senegal, which again reflect the true African situation. There is no country in Africa where someone is elected president that he will not promise to unify the country, that he will not promise to fight corruption, and he will not promise to reduce unemployment. So these are constant challenges in Africa, and there's nothing new about that. However, the challenge that he will face is that those who are benefiting from the current order will not give up the fight easily. Just like it happened in Nigeria, where it's going to happen the same way in Senegal. Now, but there's something I think he did, which I thought was unadvised or unwise. You know that all the Francophone countries have problem with France, the way France has dominated the economy. You see how Mali, Niger, and I think and Chad are trying to pull away from that alliance. I expect that young man that waited until taking over power, worked on some of his local agenda, you know, solve the economy, fight corruption, reduce unemployment. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
Improve the living conditions of the people, build a strong political base, then he can take on France. You know? Now, because if you go by history, you will see that France has used its colonial power to destabilize so many African countries in the past. And France is not about to stop. So if he positions himself as an enemy of France from this early stage, when he's able to consolidate his power, he might run on serious roadblocks. So my advice to him would be to focus on the local agenda for now, stabilize the country, build groundswell of support, right? And then it can go on aggression in fighting the sovereignty war.
Okay, well, for other West African countries, again, this is a president that is surrounded by a number of khaki boys who have just taken over the leadership of some of these countries. You said it again that it may just be too early for him to begin to look at neo-colonial policies that would tend towards, doing away with every of the influences that France has had over the country. But again, what do you think this particular election in Senegal, what message would you think it would give to other leaders in West Africa? The khaki boys and then, of course, the ones that are democratically elected.
Very simple. Every time the government in power loses legitimacy by either trying to impose itself on the people or by not doing well in government, right? They become vulnerable, and once the opposition can get together and they are determined, they will defeat that government. That's a clear message. And if you want to apply that message to Nigeria, it means that President Tinubu and his party will have to sit well. Otherwise, if the opposition can get their hands together, given the level of discontentment in Nigeria today, they are toast in 2027. Recall that even in the last election, right, the only reason why the APC won the election was because the Labour Party and the PDP couldn't come together.
Yeah.
If the opposition, in fact, the splinter group of the opposition had come together, they would have defeated the APC. Because a lot of Nigerians were dissatisfied with the performance of the APC-led government the last 8 years. Okay? And I know you are one of them too. So that is the lesson. And I think the other lesson is that all other African countries that are around Senegal, the Gambia, especially the ECOWAS member states, right, must ensure that this young man stays. Because Africa cannot continue to be the backwater of the world, where people just come and exploit raw materials, dictate the policy, impose this leader on their people who will only play to their music. That has got to stop. I recall that the last time something like that happened, when Murtala Muhammad took over and gave that speech about Africa having come of age, how long did he last in government?
He was assassinated.
Because they always have young, ambitious people who want power for the sake of power and not what power can be used for. So I will say to the Nigerian political class, take a look at Senegal. It is not inevitable that Senegal will happen in Nigeria. But it can only be stopped if you do well in government. And doing well in government simply means prioritizing the needs of the people. And
the welfare of the people.
And the welfare of the people over and above that of those in power. Because you see, when those in power have genuine difficulties, citizens sympathize with them. You know that.
Yeah.
We know when there is no money to pay salary. We know when there is no money to buy new cars. We know when there is no money to distribute or give higher scholarship and all that. But when you keep telling the people there is no money to meet their own needs, but your needs are daily increasing, and they are not even critical needs, how do you tell the people that you care about them? So long as we have people who are left out of the system, people who are left behind, you understand? People who cannot afford basic things. That's how you measure government all over the world. You simply ask them, are your lives better than when this government took over? So every 4 years, give an opportunity, like the president himself said to the traditional ruler and the traditional and religious leaders. When he said, don't run down your country. If you are not happy with what we are doing, wait until that opportunity comes. And you can use these things against us. Okay? So it is important that wherever you have been elected to occupy, do your best. And the people will know that you are trying. And when you are not trying, they also know you are not trying.
Okay. Well, again, we want to just say congratulations to Mr. Basiru the Fᴜᴜ, will of course be expecting that at least he would be a very good ambassador of youth participation in politics. He has the highest position of leadership in that country now, and of course there are expectations, huge expectations on the young man. Really, again, we say young because, again, if you look at the kinds of leadership we have in Africa, their age and how they stay too long in power, you understand why a lot of people in Africa are excited about this particular one. At least for the first time, we're able to see someone who is not in the 70s or in the 80s, somebody who at least...
Well, let me quickly add something. There is a study that I stumbled upon recently, right? Which is that the reason why the Americans and the Europeans not permit people to stay for too long in power is because of diminishing returns. You get to a point where you no longer have anything to give to the people other than to just enjoy the position.
There's really nothing to offer again.
He goes to the United Nations and he doesn't even know he was there.
That's Paul Biya, Cameroon.
Yes. His aides have to tell him that it is his turn to speak, and he didn't even understand that he was. So, look at Robert Mugabe at some point.
With the have him out of power.
Yes, how easy it was to be manipulated by his wife to try and hand over power to him.
Even Yᴏ괜ᴛᴜ is just there in Uganda, installing his children as head of the military. The man is just there, really.
And then reputable, it's also a reputation of saying some very outlandish things.
Yes, some outrageous comments coming from the old man.
Power is no longer a tool for solving problems. If it becomes a comfort thing, then you don't need that power. Most African leaders now are holding on to power as a comfort tool, not as a tool to solve problems.
Well, do you think there's any lesson ordinary Nigerians who are the electorates? Is there anything they can learn from the ordinary people of Senegal? Their resolve to ensure a change happens in that country.
Yes, that the power to change their situation is in their hands. And for those who say, look, we still don't know what this guy is going to do. The truth is, you don't know what anybody you are electing is going to do. You can only have that guesses. Okay, that maybe because of what he has done in the past, do you understand? He's going to do something. And that is why you have the opportunity to change them if you think that they are not doing well. But the problem in our own country is that whoever is elected, whether he's performing or is not performing, he will have his gang of praisers and those who benefit from the situation to keep praising him and then working and looking for ways to continue to impose him on the people. And that's why we are where we are.
All right.
Now, somebody said that democracy is great because it's a system that gives you the opportunity to make a choice. But the problem? The problem is that the lead from which we are expected to make that choice is not always great. Sometimes you are left with baboon and chimpanzee. They belong to one family tree.
So you just have to choose one of the two.
Yes. So that's why it's important that the young people join to the political parties as members. Because we think, for most of us, we think that election begins and ends with electing president or governors and all that. There is a critical area which is the nomination of the candidate. So by the time most of us are waking up to the reality, the train has already left the station. Even though we have tickets, we are arriving to an empty station.
But Mr. Curtis, yes, we can talk about youth participation, be a part of the process, don't just stay on the other side of the wall and continue to criticize. I saw Comrade M쏘ɪᴜᴜ tweet about the youth just want to be SAs and PAs. They are not even as ambitious as trying to become president and all of that. But I think you and I should agree that not really trying to make excuses for younger Nigerians now, that the kind of gated, heavily monetized democracy and the corrupt electoral process would make it difficult really for somebody like a Fᴜᴜ to emerge in Nigeria. Do you agree?
So yeah, I do share some of those sentiments, but let me let me address this issue because I've had this conversation with some young people. You understand? You know, my people have a say. They say that if you don't refuse food, hunger will never respect you. Now, the problem with our young people is that they have no sense of delayed gratification. And they are not purposeful in what they want for their lives. Now, you recall that the people who are in charge now that we need to get rid of so we can take over, right? Also have to get rid of certain people by using the same tactics, okay? So until we get to that point whereby we can look at these people in the face and say, no, with all your money, I'm still not going to give you my vote. Because what people don't understand that this is actually a very toxic cycle. I buy you Korope, I buy you Tekemaruwa, I give you particles.
And I agree with Comrade WG=SOᴜ. A lot of these youths are so happy to become PAs.
I buy a bag of rice, I put 2,000 into envelopes, and I give to you. And then you re-elect me. I go back and now see 10 billion.
And you complain that there's no power, no water, no health care.
No quota. And that's why I say to people that when you carry your voter's card, that voter's card that you carry is not just a card. That is emblematic of good living conditions.
Your future.
You have hospital to that card, you have good quality education, you have good infrastructure, you have democracy, the rights of people in that card. So it goes beyond card. Now, some of them will be the ridiculous place that some people will take it down and vote. Sit down and ask yourself.
Well, you need to adjust the phone because there's this echo coming. I see you are sounding far from the phone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Better now, perfect now.
Yeah, some people will take 2,000 and vote. Have you ever thought about dividing 2,000 by 365 days? And see how much it comes to? And the same people will turn around and be crying, oh, the government we voted for. Okay, there's a particular case of a senator from the state who decided not to do so much because he said the people didn't vote for her, that she fought her election.
At least she paid her way through.
Yeah, so when they came home and they were disturbing her, he said, no, please don't disturb me. You didn't vote for me. You didn't vote for me. I bought your vote. You know, I bought your vote. So the people are trying to eat their cake and have it back. And that is not going to work. Now, that's why in other parts of the world, you are called upon to fund candidates. Voters fund candidates. You give money to candidates that you believe will deliver for you. And because you are the one funding them, there's no way they get into government and forget about you. Because they know that they need to come back to you at some point. But what we do here is that we take all the money from them, and then we expect that they will go and serve us. It's not going to work that way. It doesn't work that way.
So I think that brings us back. Yes, the part of the people I understand, but I think that should also bring us to the conversation of reforming the electoral process. You know, some of the processes that leads to people emerging as candidates. We're also talking about, there's also the conversation about independent candidates too, really, that can of course bring some form of vibrancy into the system.
If you throw independent candidates in the mix, it's not going to be effective, and I'll tell you why. If the process is monetized, let's say we have 4 political parties running for a position, right? And all of them have billions at their disposal and spending. And the independent candidate comes in, he doesn't have money. Who is even going to listen to him? Let me tell you my personal experience. In 2003, I decided to test the system and see how it works. So I went home and ran for the House of Reps. And every community we went to campaign, the things I was saying to them, they loved it. Do you understand? They were even giving me cheap fancy titles all over the place, giving me names and all that.
But then you didn't drop anything.
I will get the feedback from my campaign people. They say, look, we like him. You know, he's the kind of person that we think should But the thing is that he's not giving money.
He's not dropping anything.
Yeah, he's not dropping anything. The other people are coming here and they are giving us money. Now, in spite of me not giving money, right? The 3-4 months that I did that exercise, in 2003, I spent over 12 million. Even to move people around from one community to the other.
Not dropping anything.
To entertain people, buy them food. Let me give you an example. There was a day that I had 4 community leaders visit me. And they introduced their leader and said, this is their leader. So when they were going, I gave them 50,000 for transport. As soon as they left, 3 of them came back. And they already calling me honorable. It's honorable. You know that we are reporting our leader.
Once you contest, you become honorable automatically. Yeah.
Yes, it's honorable. It's not that we are reporting our leader, but we just wanted you to know that that money that you gave us, is our leader. He just entered his car and he drove away, and we can't ask him. And we're not asking you to give us another money. We just to let you know that he took the money and left.
But they will take if you give
indirectly, they are telling me to give them another money. And I have to give them. So things like that. But you see, in a different system, right? Even the people you move around, the money you spend usually come from donors. That's why sometimes you say that when you cannot raise money from donors, your campaign is not significant.
You have to shut down the campaign. Once you can raise enough money.
And there is a strong rule. Look, they're like the equivalent of INEC in America does not conduct election. Their major responsibility is to monitor how you raise money and spend. That's why you see somebody like Jesse Jackson Jr. He went to jail for misusing campaign funds. This lady now, Cori Bush, is being accused of spending her campaign money on her boyfriend and her husband. The former governor of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich. Of course, you know how he went to jail for trying to sell Obama's spot in the Senate, as well as using some campaign funds to buy a Rolex wristwatch. Because people give you these funds on trust, believing that you are going to use it judiciously. And again, there is also the amount of money that you can contribute to a campaign is set. If you are an individual, you are only allowed to give $2,700 for primary.
So you can't just bring $2 million because I have money.
Yes. Except you now go through the super PAC, which is the Political Action Committee, and those became popular after the U.S. Supreme Court gave judgment in the case of Citizens United, where they say that super PACs are also legal human beings. In other words, they can spend money on campaigns, okay? And they have no limit. But the problem here is that they do not coordinate with the candidate openly. So I can have a super PAC that will raise money and spend on my behalf, but they won't give that money to my campaign.
Directly.
No, and if they do and they are caught, they'll go to jail. So in Nigeria, we have those limits. I think that the instant rule says for a presidential campaign, you cannot spend more than 1 billion.
Yeah.
But the reality on ground that 1 billion is not even enough for one state in our current political climate.
Sorry.
They will spend more than that.
We know we have spending limits in our instant law, but I don't think anybody respects it really. I even doubt if INEC has the machinery to even monitor that.
Well, how will INEC have the time when INEC have to attend the meetings where candidates are elected? Attend the rerun for
primary elections.
Yes, you saw how INEC observed the APC National Convention
twice,
where the current president of the Senate ran as a candidate and withdrew. And then the same INEC again went to Akwa Ibom to go and superintend another primaries that he ran for Senate.
Well, it's all modeled up. If we go into the reforms needed in the electoral process, we'll not actually discuss any other thing today. But I think we'll continue to look at what happens in Senegal. Hope that Mr. Diomaye Faye will, of course, do the right things for the people of Senegal. It's a country that has the potentials really. Because again, going through what owns their economy, largely from agriculture, and they also have oil and gas, a lot of natural gas deposits and oil. In fact, they have their own Petrosen. It's just like our own NNPC here. That's their state-controlled oil corporation. And I think with all of that, the young man should be able to leverage to get Senegal working again. Don't you think?
I agree with you. At least he has a fighting chance. If he would not allow the same corruption that he wants to fight overtake him. Sometimes as soon as they get into power and they see the lure of power, the possibilities that power can enhance to them personally, then they lose sight of their promises, they lose sight of their vision. Like the story that I think it was Pastor Tunde Bakare that told the story of a prophet in Nigeria who said he had a message for the then president Ibrahim Babangida, and he said he was going there to tell him, what God told him. And they kept waiting for some time. When he went to the office and saw all the glory of power, he just said to Mr. President, I just came here to pray for you.
All right.
If I got the messages that God sent him.
That's also a message. Coming to pray for the president is a message. All right, it's Midweek Politics, Mainland 98.3 FM. We have Barrister Curtis Adigba on the phone, and of course we've tried to look at what has happened in Senegal, and we hope that of course good things will continue to happen in different parts of Africa, particularly the West African sub-region, because it's really been a very series of bad news, really, when the khaki boys kept overthrowing government in different parts of West Africa. But now, I think we have something to celebrate as far as democracy is concerned in West Africa. Well, we are streaming the show live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can actually be a part of the show by dropping your comments and contributions on those platforms. We'll definitely read your comments and contributions. I can see the line buzzing. You have to take it easy. We'll open the phone lines at the right time. For now, let's just take care of the issues we have on Midweek Politics today. We're going to Rivers State, Barrister Curtis Adigba. We had a brief conversation before the show, and Nyesom Wike, I've lost count of how many media chats he has had from the days of being the governor to now the minister of the FCT. I'm sure that he's had more media chats than the president as minister of the FCT. He had one. No, not only the president. I think the president delegated the power to call press conferences for himself and not the ministers to Wike. Well, but he doesn't speak for the president. He speaks about himself. Most likely, he's just talking about himself and his politics.
Well, you never can tell. I'm just saying this on the lighter note that it looks like he went to Mr. President and then he got the consent of Mr. President to hold press conferences for everybody in government. So it has more press conferences than all the governors in Nigeria put together, all the ministers put together, the president and the vice president put together. I think he enjoys public attention. Because
the media chats are always about himself, really. I don't think there's any value those media chats bring to governance or what the APC is doing in government.
And the journalists they invite are almost the same.
Yeah, I think it's been consistent, really. They are the same set of people, and I think he enjoys their company. But let's look at what he said. He said a whole lot, but we'll concentrate on the part of the Rivers State elders, the politics of Rivers State, from what he said about the former governor, Mr. Peter Odili, to the things he said about the so-called quote-unquote political elder statesmen of Rivers State, from Rotimi Amechi, Celestine Omeya, to Uche Secondus, Senator Lee, a lot of them. He actually put all of them together, and he has this very interesting name. He called them, he called them the political buccaneers. I don't know what that means, but we have this soundbite, just a snippet from all the things he said at that media chat yesterday, and it will be nice to listen to so that we are not accused of quoting him out of context. Let's just listen to him. I think it's about 4 minutes or so, 4 to 5 minutes. Let's use that to catch our own breath. Listen to him, and then we'll come back to discuss all he said. Really, very interesting comment that I'm sure will bring interesting conversations. Let's just take this break, listen to Yᴏᴜᴛᴜ, and we'll be right back.
To also build here. So the third terminal, by grace of God, is in the budget, and I believe by the time the procurement process is over, we have to lay the foundation, and it's, for me, it should be a 1-year project. Manned by not government, we are not going to run it, because if you are already by government, you need to work. So we give to operators to run it for us. Just like when your life said this, I have decided not to bother myself in politics, rather concentrate on the assignment given to me by Mr. President. That I've been doing. I didn't even go for Easter. I stayed back here because of the heavy workload I have in my hand. But now you have asked me, why do you people believe I have a hold on the assembly by my boys? Who is done my boy that's elected my boy? But I don't have a hold on him. I have a hold on the assembly people. Problem people don't understand is that I was in the other day. I saw a political conference made by transitional politicians, political vampires, political buccaneers, who what makes them elder statesmen. You know who's called an elder statesman? I know famous man who must have integrity. He must not be here today, here tomorrow. No, that's not politics. That's lack of integrity. Why am I not like that? You don't agree with me. Listen. You don't agree with me. So what they call integrity. Let me tell you what's called integrity. Take, for example, if you allow me to analyze one by one, let me just tell you. In 2007, when Amechi came on board, after the Supreme Court judgment in October 25th or 26th, 2007, Uche Secondus, Abia Sekibo, Osnapura, Limeba, Sałsᴏ. After that judgment, at that time, Secondus was the state chairman of PDP Rivers. After that judgment, he came to us, Hilton, and cried that he's the only son of the mother that look, we should not allow him go that way. When Celestin lost Supreme Court, it's okay, but you are the chairman of PDP. Celestin has sworn in council chairman. Now we went to court. This was Secondus, who was the state chairman when Omeha was made the candidate and temporary governor. Then you know what he did? He came to court to testify that those council chairmen, he did not submit their name to the SEC. This is a man who was with Omeha. Simply because the judgment is by against Omeha, the name of that governor, he ran down to us, the Amici State, and testified for us in court. And that was how court notified all the council chairmen then, notified their seats. Is that a matter of integrity? It's not whether you agree with me or not. I'm just telling you now. That is why. You see, that is my problem. You ask question, I want to give you background when it says statesman. What makes them elder statesmen? Is it because you have filled 70 years? Is it because you have held a seat before, a position before? You can be a governor but without integrity and no business with you. Yes. Okay, take for example, if they are men of integrity, you say, you remember what happened in our last election? These are the people who called me clear because I was trying to force them to support a man who will not live long, who his life has been determined that look, there's no way of wasting their time to support him and trying to force them. Now, you know that Omeha and Amechi are first cousins. You know that when Amechi came on board, he was the one who removed Omeha's picture that he was never governor. I don't know whether you understand that. Do you understand that? So Amechi removed his picture. The one that became governor, politically, to give him a saving face. No, what really sit down? I don't need to agree with me. I've defeated them all the time. But do you know what happened in the last election? And all of them to team up to work for Atiku. Amechi had to reconcile with Omeha by attending Omeha's daughter's wedding at Corpus Christi. All of them teamed up. They couldn't give her to even 10%. We flogged them mercilessly. Let me say, as told them, look, our elder, Chief Fede Alabraba, our former chairman, Ambassador Dr. Akawu, and the governor himself, they went to Osnapura's house. Please, the governor has emerged as a candidate. Support him. You know what you say? He cannot serve master and serve boy. He cannot do it. You are not only serving boy. You are waiting for him on the road now. Is that integrity? People, if you have children, they won't say, Daddy, what kind of life is this? You mean this can happen just now? And that's what you call politics. The same people now who said this governor was a no fight, not just my boy, was a no fight. How can they bring themselves down to go and support him? They wrote a petition. When this governor was to go and collect his certificate in PDP, So they carried the rumor to how the then chairman, by the governor, is being looked for by EFCC. And so they said he was not coming to PDP Secretariat National. But they were surprised the governor came and picked his... Now I know their antics. They don't believe in EFCC. And before they know, there's a judgment against EFCC. Because I know how they behave. They did that to Amechi. When they gave Amechi ticket, Senator Lɪධᴇ came out and owned them for years. They were the ones who were petitioned to EFCC when everybody was there.
All right, that's the voice of the former governor of Rivers State and, the current minister of the FCT, Yᴏᴜᴛᴜ. Very interesting comments. I think that's the best way I can describe some of the things he said. I could see that some of the journalists he called to that media chat were trying to probe some of those comments. I think basically the summary of all he said was that, look, these leaders, he's talking about Celestine Omeya, Rotimi Amechi, Uche Secondus, Lee Maiba, all of these so-called leaders don't have integrity, and he said he should be allowed to define what he really was talking about when he talks about integrity, the fact that they are here today, they are there tomorrow, they are not stable. He made references to the fact that Celestine Omeya and Rotimi Amechi are first cousins. When Amechi came in, he took his picture from the government house to show that he was never a governor. Now he was the one that returned, Celestine Omeya's picture to just give him some form of face-saving reality. He talked about Uche Secondus, how he was begging. He said a whole lot of things. He talked about the former governor of the Rivers State, Peter Odili, how he chose a different path and he also choosing a different party. So this is Yᴏᴜᴛᴜ and the way he sees Rivers politics. He also talked about the fact that, look, he's not in total control, or he's not so influential on the assembly members of Rivers State. That, look, if you say the Rivers State assembly people are my boys, what about the governor? Why is it I can't control the governor, but I can control the assembly people? A lot, like I said, we had to just pick that little part of all he said in that media chat. Mr. Curtis Adiga, this is Yᴏᴜᴛᴜ again for you, explaining the politics of Rivers State. What do you make of some of these comments?
Well, I think first and foremost, Wike has to decide whether he wants to be the minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the manager of Rivers State. Because now he has a bigger ocean to swim in. Mr. President found him capable and suitable and gave him a job to do. And you put in his words, yesterday approved 1.1 trillion naira for him, the highest budget
for the FCT.
So far. So I think he needs to focus on the job that Mr. President has given to him. Number two, I think Wike is a showboat. He's the man who suffers from attention addiction. He's a man who probably feels that any form of publicity is good and that the only thing that is bad is no publicity at all. Number four, this is the man who believes that loyalty is the one-way traffic. In other words, people should be loyal to you, but they are loyal to no one. And I've voted this statement. In the first place, who is Wike? Quoting his own words, Wike was made chairman of Obiako local government by the former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili. When he was going to be dropped, he ran to the wife of the governor, Justice Mary Odili, according to him, to say, this is what is going on. And the woman went to her husband, and there, his name was put back on the list. It was from that place he got his trajectory in politics. Then he was appointed by Rotimi Amechi, who was the two-time speaker of the Rivers State Assembly, Odili's boy, who fell out with Odili because of the Obasanjo invented K-leg. And the thinking by Rotimi Amechi that Odili eventually backed Celestine Omeya. Rotimi Amechi appointed Wike as chief of staff. And at some point, when he couldn't work with him, sought to elevate him to the center. He was nominated a minister, and from what we heard at some point, Amechi also didn't want to go ahead with the nomination. But David Mark and some others helped him. He was appointed Minister of Education, Minister of State for Education.
Based on the recommendation of Rotimi Amechi.